Hi there! Welcome to Cook Local, Eat Local, the podcast where you can find inspiration, tips, and recipes for enjoying more local food and drink. I am David Crowley, your host. In today's episode, we talk about our latest CSA veggies with Annette Anthony. Annette is the author of Always Enough, a global food memoir, which was released earlier this year. Always Enough is a cookbook of 160 recipes along with personal essays that take the reader on her journeys from Philadelphia to spots around the world. Let's hear more about how food has been a bridge builder for Annette as she navigated several moves across continents, and how that global perspective informs her ideas for our local CSA veggies. Good morning, Annette. Welcome to Cook Local, Eat Local.
Good morning, David. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation. You have a very interesting journey in your cooking life, so I want to hear more. Let's start with the beginning, though. Well, maybe not the very beginning, but fairly early. From your bio information, I understand you got started cooking pretty early while living in Philadelphia as a child. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'm a Philadelphia native, and I have to say I was exposed to a lot of cooking as a child. And I discussed that in great length in the introduction to my debut book, Always Enough, a Global Food Memoir. So the exposure and observation built a really strong foundation for me because I ended up going beyond the shores of Philadelphia, beyond the shores of the United States as well. And everything I was surrounded by as a child in my grandparents' home in West Philadelphia really carried me through the day. I had a lot of exposure from parents, grandparents, and everyone to global cultures and global cuisine.
Oh, that's great. And did you actually get hands-on in the cooking, or as a young kid, was it more just sort of observing and eating that gave you the experience base?
Yes, I have to admit, I talk about that in the book too. I was a big eater,
Okay,
eater
that's good.
observer,
Yeah,
and circumstances created the reality where I had to get in the kitchen and learn to cook, and that's a big part of my journey. And I really, as I say, relied on that foundation I had at home with my family.
okay, that's great. And it sounds like it, and it's part of the theme of your book, Always Enough, I understand, is the idea that, that global experience that you had really seems like it took your cooking to another level. I believe, I don't know if you want to talk about how that international experience really got your thinking and working on cooking at a new level.
Yes, thank you. Well, it did any new experience, hopefully, we all learn from them.
Yeah,
So, each country was a learning experience. And the learning was not just kind of with culinary changes and dietary changes, but sometimes language changes as well,
hmm
and big cultural changes
yeah,
equally. So I was just a person who found a foray into adapting through food
yeah.
and to connecting through new cultures into new environments through food. And again, my book explores how I took steps and how the journey evolved from country to country, trip to trip, and how I had I would say, a culmination of experiences that came together when I finally settled in England, where I am now.
Oh, okay. Great. Great. So that we can circle back and maybe hear a little bit more about some of those experiences. But as I warned you, the big one of the main things we do on this show is to kind of do some brainstorming, getting ideas from your experience, some tasty things we can do with fresh local vegetables. And this is actually the last week of the season that I'm picking up local vegetables from our CSA. I don't know if they do CSAs in London, but we enjoy that as a way to eat seasonal food.
Yeah.
And so I think the first thing from my CSA bag that I want to throw at you for ideas are carrots. Any
Mhm.
tasty ideas for what to do with carrots?
Oh, sure, I sure do. Lots of carrots in my book, and because I know of your mission and your journey with the CSA and the podcast, I kind of went back and looked again at a lot of the recipes. And actually, my book has 160 recipes, and 65 are actually all veg.
Oh, okay, great.
So I thought, okay, I have to find something in carrot with carrots here for you. So there are lots of carrots throughout many different recipes, lots of way to prepare them. But the recipe that I really enjoy, and that I find guests usually enjoy, is carrot mash.
Oh, okay.
And
Interesting.
yeah, in my book, I talk just, it's a really simple recipe. It's easy to do. People often think it's sweet potato.
Oh, I could see it would look the same. I don't think I've ever tried
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
And even depending on the carrot, as you know, the tastes can also vary.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to hear about the carrots you collect, but carrots here, there's a huge variety of carrots. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
Châtenay. There's all types of variety of color of carrots, and obviously the classic orange carrots, yellow, purple. Um, any taste of carrot you like can be used in the mash recipe.
Mm-hmm. And do you put anything, is it prepared like a potatoes with butter or any herbs or spices get in there?
Yeah, essentially, I am a purist, so I try to appreciate the flavor of whatever I'm preparing to the maximum. And you can add some creme fraiche, but for this particular recipe, it's very simple. It's white pepper, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is somewhat key.
Yeah.
No black pepper. White pepper, salt, and butter. The butter's
Okay.
optional if you don't want dairy. You don't have to have dairy. A little bit of olive oil. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even think it requires that.
Mm-hmm. That sounds
So,
tasty. Definitely. Yeah, that's a good. And I assume, yeah, one challenge I find is I tend to use carrots more like one or two in a soup in with other things. But if you have a
yeah,
lot on hand, which can
yeah.
sometimes happen if you're getting these local food deliveries, it's probably good to have a recipe like that where the carrots are the star.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. And I like that carrot mash recipe as well because another theme that I kind of promote in my book is not wasting food. So with leftover carrot mash, you can mix that in with a bit of egg white,
Hmm.
put them in some muffin tins, and have some little mini carrot soufflés.
Oh, that's a creative idea for
Yeah,
leftovers. Nice.
yeah,
Yeah, I am too try to really reduce the food waste. In fact,
yeah.
sometimes it varies. Sometimes we just get the roots of the carrots, but oftentimes they come with the tops as well. So I'll like make chimichurri or something like that to
Oh, that's nice.
keep those going. Well, great. Well, I want to get ideas on a couple more ingredients. How about red beets? What would you think about with those?
Yeah, so for red beets, I chose two recipes. One which I had in Sweden. In my book, it's called Scandi New Potatoes.
Hmm.
And essentially, it's again, a very, very fresh taste of you get some, locally sourced roe of some sort or whatever type of roe you like. You're going to have some boiled beetroots more than roasted, but I tend to like to roast beetroots rather than boil them.
Yeah.
But for this particular recipe, I would boil the beetroots with some potatoes, and then with your sour cream. I know a lot of people today have ways of smoking at home, but
Hmm.
for this I use a little bit of liquid smoke because
Okay.
I don't do smoke at home. So you want the cream to have a little smoky flavor.
Hmm.
And essentially, you assemble that, the beetroot, the potatoes, with a nice dollop of cream. And what goes on top of that cream? The
Okay.
roe.
Oh, right. The road. That's what you started with. Coming
Yeah,
back to that. Okay, so that's
absolutely.
a fancy preparation for it. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Nice.
But it's really simple,
Hmm.
really easy. And that smoky cream with the little saltiness of the fish eggs
Yeah.
is a real I find it really quite nice.
Yeah, that does sound delicious. And so it sounded like you based that on something you said Sweden you found in your
Yeah,
travels. Okay,
yeah,
great.
yeah, absolutely. The other way that I use beetroot, which I love, is actually in fruit salad.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah,
Never wouldn't have
yeah,
thought of that, that's for sure.
yeah. That's in my book, page 227
Oh,
for
great.
those who
Following
have.
along at home. So, okay, people should get the book first, and then they can get the
Yeah,
page
absolutely.
references or take notes and take notes in order
Yeah.
when you
No, I
drive.
gave you the wrong page number. It was 298. So
Okay.
it's one of the last recipes in the book, actually. And it's something that all, because I have friends who would say they don't eat beetroot, they don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But in this fruit salad, so it's a red fruit salad with some rose syrup.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also use other flavored syrup if you prefer. But essentially, it's a red fruit salad.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use boiled or roast beetroot. Again, this is red beetroot,
Yeah,
not yellow. I would not use it. I would not use anything other than red beetroot for this
right.
because it's not a standout in the dish. So literally, you mince the beetroot,
Hmm.
you mince it very finely, and then you mix it in with the fruit salad with the
Oh.
red fruits, and
Hmm.
it lifts it really, really nicely.
Wow. That's creative. Is that just something you cooked up on your own, or is that like based on anything sort of in your travels somewhere where they might do that kind of
Um,
preparation? It's
I
very
have
unique from what I know, I can tell. Yeah.
I have to say, um, you know, the vegetable selection here is quite limited compared
Mm-hmm.
to, a country like the United States,
Mm-hmm.
obviously because of climatic regions, etc.
Yeah. Right.
So there's a lot of beetroot. There's a lot of beet. There are certain
Yeah.
vegetables that are really abundant
Okay. Yeah.
in England. So I probably had that somewhere here and
Mm-hmm.
just decided, how can I work this at home?
Yeah.
But and the beet people don't even realize beetroot is in the dish, but it's really
Yeah.
important. It's really key to the flavor.
Like sort of hidden flavor boost. Nice.
Yeah. A
Well,
little
that's great.
umami.
Yeah, and for people who don't like beets, I guess that sounds like a clever way to slip it in.
Oh no, I had a friend who swore he doesn't eat beetroots, but he loves that fruit salad. He
Oh,
loves
that's
that
excellent.
fruit salad.
Great. Well, and the final ingredient we want to talk about before circling back to a few more themes from your book and experience is our sweet potato. So one of my favorites, good
Yeah.
healthy vegetable. What do you have in mind for that?
Um, I love sweet potatoes. So obviously sweet potato roast,
Mm-hmm.
which is in my book. And then another favorite, which can be eaten as a vegetarian dish or it can be eaten, with other things, is sweet potato pancakes.
Oh, okay.
And there's no, is there, do I put some flour in that? I don't think I put any flour in the sweet
Hmm.
potato pancakes. It's really just shredded sweet potato,
Yeah. Hmm.
orange sweet potato,
Mm-hmm.
mixed with some chopped scallion, a little salt, and you grate it finely. So you grate some parboiled sweet potatoes finely. Then mix them with your seasoning, your scallions, form them into palm size little cakes, and you cook them in the oil of your preference. I like safflower oil,
Yeah.
peanut oil occasionally. I would not use olive oil, obviously.
Yeah.
You know how
Right.
much that absorbs.
Right.
And yeah, then you can enjoy them. Even a
That,
little bit of sour cream on that's not bad.
oh, okay. That sounds tasty. Excellent. Wow. Some creative ideas and you really it sounds like are those of the vegetables we had I'm guessing that they fairly common. Do you find the things we've talked about them pretty much across your travels or you did mention in England it's a little harder to source certain vegetables. I
Yeah.
don't know what might be harder to find there.
Yes. Well, just, most of the some everything's imported from Spain,
Right, right.
Italy, a lot of the citrus fruits, avocados, things like that. So bananas. I mean, there's just quite a bit that's imported
Yeah.
on tropical fruits.
Well, great.
Um, yeah.
Well, so let's talk in general about your theme of your book and approach to cooking. I understand you're kind of as from what I discern from what I read so far is, sort of a focus on finding what's fresh and local, sort of building on local ingredients, but seems like you're blending different concepts and cultures in your cooking. But if you want to just maybe elaborate on your overall approach or philosophy to your style of cooking.
Sure. I have to say, I think we all blend because we all, you often find you don't have all the ingredients you want.
Right,
So
right.
part of my mission is keep it moving and go for it anyway. Even
Yeah,
if you don't have the ingredients you need, how
yeah.
can you get as close as possible?
Mm-hmm.
So, I blend actually not to do fusion. I'll admit I'm not a super fan of fusion, but I
Hmm.
blend to try and get as close as possible to the flavors I wanted. When I first moved out of the US, many decades ago now, even something as simple as not being able to find cheddar cheese.
Oh, yeah.
When I first moved abroad and wanted some macaroni and cheese,
Mm-hmm.
what was the substitute? I substituted Cantal, which
Hmm.
works for me just as good as cheddar in a mild cheddar
Hmm.
in mac and cheese. So it was just trying to get as close as possible to, I think, the authentic flavors that I enjoyed. And I do that really across the board. I have recipes in the book from West Africa. There are a lot
Mm-hmm.
of ingredients which today are readily available, and it's remarkable
Mm.
how, there are, markets from every region of the world now in every major city.
Right.
It's really quite enjoyable. And essentially, I, found myself looking for ways to substitute flavors that a while ago, it was very hard to find. Um,
Right. Right.
so again, how can I get that flavor of the dried shrimp or the giant snail or some of these really quite unique flavors I found in Africa.
Mm.
You know,
Giant snail. Wow. Okay.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, no, interesting and a sight to behold at the market.
Oh, I bet. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, going to the market when I lived in West Africa was, wonderful experience. Certainly for the senses, smell, taste, visual, lots of ingredients that
Hmm.
are really just unique to each country.
Yeah.
So trying to replicate and have some of those, enjoy some of those flavors when I was back in France or here in England. And yeah, so that's kind of been my motivation, I would say, of blending.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, I think it probably still, I would guess, be a challenge for someone who might be living in a smaller town in a more rural area, whether it's in the States or the UK. I know I get a little spoiled. We're in the Boston area, and similarly, you can find all
Yeah.
kinds of different specialty shops, or even in some of the main grocery stores now, you can get a lot of stuff from other cuisines. But we visit family and my in-laws in South Dakota, and it definitely is a different situation when you get
Sure.
out of some of the bigger areas. So definitely having those strategies for adaptation is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And, I mean, visiting a place like South Dakota, whenever I travel anywhere, Saturdays, if not Saturday, then Sunday, but I always try to find a farmer's market, a local market,
Hmm.
outdoor. I'm sure there's some wonderful produce
Yeah.
and you just work with some of the foundations and the basics to work with whatever's local. So I do really also, advocate that exploring, experimenting, and if you keep it simple, you get the flavor of the food, um, roasting and trying new things.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have any favorite spices or stuff you use to add that you find yourself grabbing, or may just vary a lot based on what you're cooking?
Part of, again, enjoying more the flavor of food, I've really reduced my salt.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think salt is a powerful enhancer of especially vegetables, as you know,
Yeah.
when you're kind of preparing them. But it's kind of like getting less salt for me. So I am addicted to Herbamar, which is like a seasoned
Hmm.
salt, or
Okay.
herb de Provence salt, or
Yeah.
salt that has half salt, half herbs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to reduce salt and add some
Yeah,
flavor.
yeah,
Nice.
absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely.
So I understand there you've covered, I know, several good recipes already in your book, but I understand there's maybe a special dish that you'd like to share with us a little bit, or at least a sneak preview. You got to get the book for the all the details, of course.
Thanks. Oh, that's really kind of you to ask that. It's very interesting. My favorite dish in all the book is, again, one of the simplest,
Hmm.
and it is a vegetable dish. It is okra chips.
Okra chips. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. And I love them. It's just like a way of slow cooking them to get them nice and crispy, almost like potato chips.
Hmm.
And they're just great to garnish anything, garnish salads, to have as a snack, a healthy snack,
Yeah.
throw into soups, to use on curries, things like
Hmm.
that. Yeah, I think the okra chips for people who are looking at the vegetable side of things is something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Um, and then some of the readers have told me things that they really enjoy: couscous stuffed chicken.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
Someone told me they really love that. Interesting enough, another really simple recipe: spinach.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
quite a few readers have told me they love the way the spinach is prepared.
Hmm.
So again, minimal cooking, just kind of blanching to get the flavor, getting the water out, and then, using the versatility of the vegetable.
Yeah.
Um, Another favorite of mine is potato muffins, which is a use of mashed potatoes to make a muffin, a bit like the use of the carrot mash.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I would say for something, the two probably more time intensive, mushroom and walnut lasagna,
Oh, that sounds
which I
tasty.
love,
Hmm.
which I had in Italy. I think a
Hmm.
country you probably are familiar with.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. So is that like with a like a white sauce or tomato?
it
Yeah,
is.
I was guessing.
It's a white
Okay.
sauce. It's a
Nice.
white sauce, very thin, very light. And if you serve it really when it's like right out of the oven, it's not something that can really be made ahead or keep, but it's
Yeah.
just because otherwise the sauce is absorbed in the pasta too
Oh,
much.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. But mushroom walnut lasagna, and then I have something called Casablanca couscous, which
Hmm.
is from a trip to Morocco,
Oh, yum.
which, yeah, I think it's a nice family meal that can, for meat eaters and for vegetarians, everyone can enjoy it.
Oh, that's great. I'll have to
Yeah,
check that one out.
yeah.
Well, those recipes all sound good. And yeah, I could definitely see the sort of through line, of your kind of keeping things simple, but it seems like a lot of, sort of creative interpretations on how to use
Mm.
these ingredients without needing maybe to spend hours in the kitchen, maybe with a few exceptions, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you have, as we get closer to wrapping up here, do you have, I mean, you've kind of been sprinkling some good tips throughout the conversation, but either, you know, other tips you'd like to share around the theme of how to really lean into local food and using what's available, or just to, anything you haven't shared yet, or maybe just to summarize or underscore any points on that topic?
Oh gosh, it's all, I say you have to hit the pavement or the field or the grass or wherever
Yeah.
you are. I try to treat um, travel and food as an adventure and
Hmm.
something where you can follow your nose. If something smells good, find out where it's
Yeah.
coming from. Ask people where they like to shop when you're
Hmm.
visiting places. What are the best markets? I always love bringing a spice home.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good
So,
idea.
yeah, wherever I go, I try to bring back a spice that I will use, not a
Right.
spice for the
Yeah.
sake.
Yeah.
a souvenir, but
Hmm.
something that I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna find a way to incorporate this and use it and enjoy it.
Hmm.
And yes, keeping, in mind that it is an adventure and yeah,
Those are
keeping
good tips. And I think, yeah, I mean, just thinking about that, following your nose, as you say, would be a good way to get off the beaten path of, especially if you're in a place that, if you're just looking at some kind of tour book or something, it probably isn't going to necessarily highlight some of those places you'll find based on your approach.
Yeah, yeah. And I know you have a keen interest in wines and wine
Yes.
pairings. And I just thought I'd share a little story,
Oh, yeah.
which kind of, again, is the ethos of exploring. When I first moved to France, I took a months long wine tasting class at
Oh, nice.
the Institut Catholique.
Hmm, very good.
And so it was with a Catholic priest
Hmm.
the course. And, he went over all the wine regions of France, the grapes. And at the end of this months long course, when we all should have been experts, it was also about learning the language.
Hmm.
Uh, he took us to a cave under the city of Paris
Hmm.
for a wine tasting.
Wow.
And it was, yeah, quite dramatic and impressive at the time. And I said, yes, but Father, how do you really, know you go into a store, how do you choose among this all? And he was like, my dear, you just have to drink. You just have to try it all.
That sounds good.
And I think, I've always remembered that because he was like, no, you just try, you explore, you try things, what you like, what you don't like. It doesn't matter if other
Hmm.
people or if you don't like it.
That
Try.
that's definitely a good attitude to apply to wine or any food really. So that's
Yes. Because
a
there are a
great
lot of wines.
that's for sure. That is for sure. Well, I love that story. Um, Yeah, so this has been a great conversation and great sneak preview of your book. So maybe just to wrap up, we can put it on our website, sort of links to wherever makes sense. What's the best way or ways for people to get a copy of your book? And also if there are if you're active on any social media or anything where people can follow along your cooking journey, what's the best way to people to follow up on this conversation?
Oh, thanks so much, David. I've enjoyed it. I do have the social media. I have a website, AnnetteAnthony.com. So
Okay,
hopefully that's easy. The book is available wherever you order books,
great.
Amazon, independent bookstores, um, pretty much wherever you get your books, you can get Always Enough. On Instagram, I'm @Anthony_author. And I have a fledgling TikTok,
Okay.
Always Enough _author.
All
So
right,
hopefully
great.
more to come there. But
Yeah.
I enjoy Instagram.
All right. Yeah, I haven't taken I'm active on a decent number of social media but TikTok somehow I just haven't
Yeah,
jumped into yet. But great. Well, this is great. Well, I definitely I've taken a quick look at the book because I just got the other day and look forward to really delving into it. I'm gonna have to see what I have on hand and which recipe I'll make first. I'll be sure to tag you and let you know how it came
please
out.
do. And I always ask anyone, please take a picture of if you do make something. I would
Oh
love
yeah.
to have a picture.
Sure, will do. Well, Annette, it's been a pleasure talking with you and learning from you, and look forward to trying some of those recipes.
Thank you so much, David. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Cook Local, Eat Local. To get the show notes with links for recipes and resources we covered today, go to cooklocaleatlocal.com to get the podcast landing page. And please be sure to subscribe to Cook Local, Eat Local wherever you get your podcasts. Make it a great day with some tasty local food on your plate.